I was sitting in my favorite chair at Mount Zion Baptist Church during Wednesday night Bible study when my phone buzzed. The text message from my husband Vernon's credit card company made my hands shake so hard I nearly dropped my phone. Transaction declined, $847 at Le Paradis Restaurant, Miami Beach, FL. I stared at that message and smiled. Not a happy smile. The kind of smile that comes when you've been planning something for 3 months and everything is finally falling into place. Because you see, I had frozen every single one of our joint accounts 2 weeks ago. And my dear husband of 45 years had no idea. The second text came through 30 seconds later. Transaction declined, $1,200 at the Fontainebleau Hotel, Miami Beach, FL. Then my phone started ringing. Vernon's name flashed on the screen. I silenced it and turned my attention back to Pastor Williams, who was preaching about betrayal and redemption. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed 16 more times during that Bible study. 16 times. I counted every single one. Each buzz was like a little victory bell ringing in my purse. Before we continue, shout out to Kendra Jackson from Detroit, Michigan. We appreciate the love you show by commenting and sharing. Let me back up and tell you how I got here. How Beatrice Washington, retired school teacher, grandmother of 4, deaconess at Mount Zion Baptist, ended up destroying her husband's romantic vacation with his mistress from 2 states away. My name is Beatrice, but everyone calls me Bea. I'm 67 years old, and up until 6 months ago, I thought I had a good marriage. Not perfect, but good. Vernon and I met at Howard University back in 1977. He was studying business, and I was studying education. We got married right after graduation and built a life together in Atlanta. We raised 2 children, Tiffany and Derek. We bought a house. We went to church every Sunday. We hosted Thanksgiving dinner for 30 people every year. We were that couple, the one everyone looked up to. Vernon worked his way up to regional manager at a telecommunications company. I taught 3rd grade for 35 years. We saved our money. We invested smart. By the time we both retired 5 years ago, we had paid off our house, had a healthy retirement account, and were ready to enjoy our golden years together. Or so I thought. The first sign came last March. Vernon started going to the gym. Now, that doesn't sound suspicious, right? A man wants to get healthy in his retirement. Except Vernon had never stepped foot in a gym in 45 years of marriage. Suddenly, at 69 years old, he's getting up at 5 in the morning to lift weights? Then came the new clothes, designer polo shirts, expensive cologne, a younger man's haircut. He started talking different, too, using words our grandchildren would say. Lit. Fire. No cap. It was like watching someone have a midlife crisis 20 years too late. My best friend Loretta noticed it during our weekly card game. "Girl, what's going on with Vernon?" she whispered while we were getting snacks from my kitchen. "He's acting peculiar." "He's just trying to stay young," I said, making excuses like I'd been doing for weeks. "You know how men get." But Loretta gave me that look. That look that black women give each other when we know something ain't right, but we're not ready to say it out loud yet. That look that says, "Baby, you better start paying attention." I started paying attention. Vernon began working late, except he was retired. He'd say he was consulting for his old company, helping train new managers. He'd come home at 9, 10 o'clock at night, smelling like perfume and wine. When I asked questions, he'd get defensive. "Can't a man have a life outside this house? I've been working for 40 years, B. Let me breathe." That stung. Let him breathe? Like our marriage was suffocating him? Then came the phone calls. He'd step outside to answer. He'd take his phone to the bathroom. He started sleeping with it under his pillow. One night, I watched him smile at his screen the way he used to smile at me, and something inside my chest just cracked wide open. I didn't want to be that wife, the suspicious one, the one who checks phones and follows her husband. But I also wasn't going to be the fool. So I did what any smart woman in 2025 would do. I called my nephew Marcus, who works in IT. Auntie B, Marcus said when I explained what I needed. Are you sure you want to know? Baby, I'm sure. Marcus set me up with access to our phone records. Just our family plan records, nothing illegal. And what I found made me sick to my stomach. 3,000 text messages. In 2 months. All to the same number. I didn't recognize the number, but Marcus ran it through some database he had access to. The name that came back was Simone Reed, age 42, never married. Self-employed, life coach and wellness consultant. I sat in Marcus's apartment staring at that name on his computer screen. 25 years younger than Vernon. A whole different generation. And my husband was texting her more than he'd talked to me in our entire marriage. Auntie, do you want me to? No, I said, holding up my hand. Don't tell me what's in the messages. Not yet. I need to think. I went home that night and looked at Vernon differently. Really looked at him. This man I'd been with for 45 years. This man I'd cooked for, cleaned for, supported through every job change and every dream. This man I'd given my youth to, my body to, my life to. And he was giving himself to someone named Simone. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there in the dark, listening to Vernon snore, and I planned. The next morning, I called my daughter Tiffany. She's a paralegal at a law firm in Chicago. Baby, I said, I need you to tell me about divorce law in Georgia. There was a long silence on the phone. Then, Mama, what's going on? I told her everything. When I finished, she was crying. Daddy? Are you sure? I'm sure, baby. What do you want to do? I want to protect myself. Can you help me? Tiffany connected me with a lawyer in her firm's Atlanta office. Attorney Regina Foster, a sharp sister in her mid-40s who specialized in divorce cases. I met with her the next week while Vernon thought I was at a church women's retreat. Regina didn't sugarcoat anything. Mrs. Washington, Georgia is an equitable distribution state. That means the court divides marital property fairly, not necessarily equally. But here's what you need to know. The longer this drags out, the more expensive it gets. And if your husband is planning to leave you, you need to protect your assets now. What do you recommend? Freeze everything. Open new accounts in your name only. Document every penny. And whatever you do, don't confront him until you have everything in place. Men like this, they think they're being smart, but they're usually sloppy. Let him be sloppy while you get smart. I took her advice. Over the next 3 weeks, I quietly separated our finances. I opened new bank accounts. I moved my retirement money. I made copies of every document, every statement, every piece of paper that proved what we owned together. Vernon didn't notice because he was too busy texting Simone. Then, I decided to do something Regina didn't suggest. I hired a private investigator. His name was Glenn, a retired police detective who went to my church. He was discreet and professional. Mrs. Washington, I'll find out what's going on. You just be prepared for what I might discover. Glenn followed Vernon for 2 weeks. What he found was worse than I imagined. Vernon and Simone were meeting at the Ritz-Carlton downtown 3 times a week. Expensive dinners, expensive hotels, expensive gifts, all on our joint credit cards. Glenn had photos of everything. Vernon opening car doors for her. Vernon holding her hand in restaurants. Vernon kissing her in parking garages. But the worst part? The part that made me want to scream? They were planning a vacation. A romantic getaway to Miami Beach. And Vernon was paying for it with our money. Money I'd helped save. Money from our retirement accounts. Glenn showed me the hotel reservation. 5 nights at the Fontainebleau, presidential suite, $4,000 a night. There's something else, Glenn said, looking uncomfortable. I overheard them talking at dinner last week. Your husband told her he was going to file for divorce. He said once the divorce was final, they could get married. He told her... Glenn paused. He told her you wouldn't fight it because you're too old and tired to start over. I sat there in Glenn's office, feeling like someone had reached into my chest and crushed my heart with their bare hands. Too old? Too tired? I was 67, not dead. I had taught third graders for 35 years. I'd survived measles outbreaks, standardized testing, parent-teacher conferences with parents twice my size. I'd raised 2 children, buried both my parents, and run my household on a teacher's salary while Vernon climbed the corporate ladder. And he thought I was too tired to fight? "Mrs. Washington?" Glenn asked gently. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, and I meant it. Because right then, sitting in that office looking at photos of my husband's betrayal, something inside me shifted. I wasn't heartbroken anymore. I was angry. And anger, let me tell you, is so much more useful than sadness. I went back to Regina Foster with everything Glenn had found. She looked through the photos and documents with a lawyer's cold efficiency. "This is good," she said. "Really good. He's spending marital assets on his mistress. That's financial misconduct. The judge won't like this at all." "When are they going to Miami?" Regina asked. "Next month, June 15th through the 20th. Regina smiled. It was the first time I'd seen her smile. "Perfect. Here's what we're going to do." For the next 4 weeks, I played the perfect wife. I cooked Vernon's favorite meals. I ironed his shirts. I smiled when he lied about where he was going. I even helped him pack for his business trip to Miami. "You sure you don't mind me going, Bee?" he asked the night before he left, actually having the nerve to look concerned. "Of course not, baby," I said, folding his expensive new swim trunks into his suitcase. "You work hard. You deserve a vacation." He kissed my forehead like I was a child. "You're a good woman, Bee. I don't tell you that enough." I wanted to laugh, or scream, or both. Instead, I just smiled and said, "Have a safe flight." The morning Vernon left for the airport, I had coffee with Loretta at our favorite Black-owned cafe downtown. "You ready for this?" she asked, gripping my hand across the table. "I've been ready," I said. "What if he comes back angry?" "Let him be angry. I've been angry for 4 months. It's his turn." Vernon's flight left at 10 in the morning. By 11, I was at the bank with Regina, officially freezing every joint account we had. Credit cards, checking accounts, savings accounts, everything. "Are you sure about this?" the bank manager asked, looking nervous. "This is going to cause complications." "I'm sure," I said, signing the paperwork. "My husband has been causing complications for months. It's time he dealt with some of his own." By noon, it was done. Vernon was somewhere over Alabama, probably holding hands with Simone, dreaming about their romantic vacation. And I was sitting in my living room, waiting for the fireworks to begin. They checked into the Fontainebleau at 3 o'clock Miami time. I know because Vernon posted a photo on Facebook. Him and Simone on the balcony, ocean view, champagne glasses raised. The caption said, "New chapter, new beginnings." I commented on the photo. "Beautiful view. Enjoy it while it lasts." At 5:30, they went to dinner. Le Paradis, the most expensive restaurant in Miami Beach. Glenn had told me this was their plan: start the vacation with a romantic dinner, then go back to the hotel and celebrate. I could picture Vernon ordering the most expensive wine, the lobster, the whole show, trying to impress his younger woman with our retirement money. That's when I got the first text. Transaction declined. And that's when my phone started ringing. I let it ring and ring and ring. Each call felt like a small piece of justice. Finally, after the 16th call, I answered. "B?" Vernon's voice was panicked. "What's going on with the cards? They're not working." "Which cards, Vernon?" "All of them! I'm at dinner and none of them work. Did you forget to pay the bills?" I let the silence stretch out. Let him sweat. Then I said very calmly, "I didn't forget anything, Vernon. I froze the accounts." More silence. But this time, it was his silence. I could hear restaurant noise in the background. Glasses clinking. People talking. Simone's voice. "What's happening, baby?" You what?" Vernon finally managed. I froze all our joint accounts 2 weeks ago. Every card, every account. I also moved my retirement money into my name only, and I emptied our joint savings account. Half went into my personal account, as is my legal right. The other half I left for you, Tush, but it's in an account you can't access while you're out of town. B, this is crazy. I'm on a business trip. I need those cards. A business trip? I laughed. It felt good to laugh. Vernon, I know exactly where you are and who you're with. I've known for months. I have photos. I have bank statements. I have everything. I could hear his breathing change. Panic setting in. Good. You're at the Fontainebleau in Miami Beach, I continued. Presidential suite, with Simone Reed, age 42. The woman you've been seeing for 6 months. The woman you've spent over $70,000 of our retirement money on. The woman you're planning to marry after you divorce me because I'm apparently too old and tired to fight back. Dead silence now. Complete and total silence. Vernon? I said sweetly. Are you still there? B. Listen to me. No, you listen to me. You're going to check out of that hotel right now. You're going to get on a plane and come home. And then we're going to have a conversation about what happens next. Because I promise you, Vernon Washington, you have no idea what I'm capable of when someone I loved for 45 years treats me like I'm nothing. I can't check out. I can't afford a flight home. You took all the money. That's not my problem. Maybe Simone can help you. I heard she's a wellness consultant. Maybe she can consult on how to get yourself out of this mess. B, please. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but this time it wasn't from fear or sadness. It was from pure adrenaline, from power. My phone rang again immediately. I silenced it. It rang 15 more times over the next hour. Text messages started flooding in. Some begging, some angry, some trying to explain. I didn't read any of them. Instead, I called Loretta. It's done, I said. How do you feel? Like I just took my life back. That night, I slept better than I had in months. No husband snoring next to me. No wondering where he really was or who he was really with. Just peace. The next morning, I woke up to a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. It was from Simone. Mrs. Washington, we need to talk. Your husband told me you two were separated. He told me the divorce was already in progress. He told me you agreed to split everything 50-50 and that you were ready to move on. I had no idea you didn't know about us. But now that you do, you should also know something. Vernon and I are in love. Real love. And you freezing his cards isn't going to change that. You can make this difficult, or you can accept reality and let him go with dignity. Your choice. Also, since you left us stranded here, Vernon is going to need you to wire money for our flight home. He'll pay you back after the divorce. Thanks. I read that message 3 times. Each time I got angrier. This woman had the audacity to lecture me about dignity, to ask me for money after helping my husband steal from me. I screenshot the message and sent it to Regina. She called me back within 5 minutes. Mrs. Washington, this is gold, Regina said. She just admitted to the affair in writing. And she's making financial demands. This is exactly what we need. What do I do? Nothing. Don't respond. Let them figure it out. And B, get ready. Because when your husband gets home, things are going to get ugly. Regina was right. Things were about to get very ugly. Because what I didn't know yet was that Vernon wasn't just planning to divorce me, he'd already filed the papers, and they were being delivered to my house that afternoon by a process server. The doorbell rang at 2:15. I opened it to find a young man in a suit holding a manila envelope. Beatrice Washington? Yes. You've been served. He handed me the envelope and walked away. Just like that. 45 years of marriage reduced to legal documents in a manila envelope delivered by a stranger. I stood in my doorway, feeling the weight of those papers in my hands, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt the tears coming. Not tears of sadness, tears of rage. Vernon had filed for divorce while on vacation with his mistress, while spending our money. While I was playing the perfect wife and packing his suitcase, I opened the envelope with shaking hands and started reading. The words blurred together at first, but then certain phrases jumped out at me. Irreconcilable differences. Equal division of assets. Petitioner requests spousal support. Spousal support? He wanted me to pay him? I kept reading, and that's when I saw it. The part that made my blood turn to ice. Vernon was claiming I had hidden assets. He was claiming I'd moved money without his knowledge or permission. He was claiming financial misconduct. He was accusing me of exactly what he'd been doing for months. And according to the filing date, he'd submitted these papers 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. While I was planning my defense, he was planning his attack. While I thought I was being smart, he thought he was being smarter. I called Regina immediately. "He filed first," I said, my voice shaking. "He's accusing me of hiding money. He's asking for spousal support. Regina, how is this possible?" "Calm down, Bea. This is a tactic, a common one. He's trying to control the narrative. But here's what he doesn't know. We have evidence of his affair, his spending, and his financial misconduct. We have photos, we have bank records, we have Simone's text message from this morning. He might have filed first, but we're going to finish strong. What do I do now?" "You file a response. We counter every single one of his claims. And then we go to war." "War," I repeated. The word felt strange in my mouth. I'd never wanted war. I'd wanted a peaceful retirement with the man I loved. I'd wanted to watch my grandchildren grow up. I'd wanted to grow old with someone who cherished me. Instead, I got Vernon and Simone and divorce papers delivered while they were stranded in Miami with no money and no way home. "Yes, war," Regina said firmly. "But don't worry, Mrs. Washington. You're not fighting alone." I hung up and looked around my house. This house Vernon and I had bought 35 years ago. The walls held pictures of our children, our grandchildren, our life together. The kitchen still smelled like the pound cake I'd baked 2 days ago, Vernon's favorite. How had we gotten here? How had 45 years of love and partnership turned into frozen bank accounts and legal papers and text messages from mistresses? My phone buzzed. Another message from Simone. "Mrs. Washington, I don't appreciate being ignored. Vernon told me about the accounts. What you're doing is financial abuse. It's illegal. You can't just freeze someone out of their own money. I'm advising Vernon to press charges. You have until tomorrow to transfer money for our flights home, or I'm calling the police." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I did something I'd never done before. I called my son Derek. Derek, who worked as an accountant in New York. Derek, who I hadn't told about any of this because I didn't want to burden him. Derek, who worshipped his father and thought we had the perfect marriage. "Ma?" Derek answered on the second ring. "Everything okay?" "No, baby," I said, and then I told him everything. When I finished, there was silence on the other end. Then, "I'm getting on a plane tonight. Don't do anything until I get there." "Derek, you don't have to." "Ma, I'm coming home." Dad needs to answer for this, and nobody threatens my mother. Nobody. After I hung up with Derek, I finally responded to Simone's text. I kept it short and simple. "Simone, I suggest you talk to your boyfriend about financial abuse. He's been committing it for 6 months. All our conversations from now on will go through my lawyer. Have a blessed day." Then I blocked her number. At 4 o'clock, Vernon called from a different number. I didn't recognize it, so I answered. "Bea, please, you have to listen to me." His voice sounded desperate, scared. "Good." "I'm listening," I said coldly. "I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. Simone, she's not who I thought she was. She doesn't have money of her own. She told me she was independently wealthy, but she lied. As soon as the cards stopped working, She started acting different. Mina, she's been screaming at me for hours. She said I promised her a luxury vacation and I'm making her look poor in front of the hotel staff. I almost laughed. Vernon, do you hear yourself? You're complaining to me about your mistress being upset that you can't afford to impress her with my money? Our money, Bea. It's our money. No, Vernon. It was our money. Now it's my money and your money. Separate. Like you wanted. I never wanted this. I never filed for... He stopped abruptly. You never filed for what, Vernon? Divorce? Because I have papers that say different. Papers dated 3 weeks ago. Silence. Vernon, you thought you were so smart. You thought you'd leave me, take half of everything, and ride off into the sunset with a younger woman. You thought I'd just roll over and accept it because I'm old and tired. But here's what you didn't account for. I'm not just your wife. I'm Beatrice Washington. I taught third graders for 35 years. I've dealt with everything from head lice to helicopter parents to standardized testing. You think you're the hardest thing I've ever handled? Baby, you're not even close. B. I'll wire you money for a flight home. Coach. 1 ticket. Just you. Simone can figure out her own way back since she's so independently wealthy. You'll be home tomorrow night, and we'll deal with this like adults. But Vernon, everything you thought you knew about me? You were wrong. I hung up before he could respond. Then I did exactly what I said I would. I wired Vernon enough money for a coach ticket home. Just him, not Simone. That night, Loretta came over with dinner from our favorite soul food restaurant. Fried chicken, collard greens, macaroni and cheese, and cornbread. We sat at my kitchen table, and she held my hand while I cried. Real crying this time. Not angry tears. Sad ones. 45 years, I whispered. How did I not see this coming? Because you trusted him, Loretta said gently. That's not a weakness, Bea. That's love. He's the one who betrayed that trust, not you. I feel so stupid. You're not stupid. You're hurt. There's a difference. We ate in silence for a while. Then Loretta said something that would stay with me through everything that came next. Bea, this isn't just about Vernon leaving you. This is about you finding yourself again. The you that existed before him. The you that's been buried under 45 years of being Mrs. Washington. Maybe this is your chance to remember who Beatrice really is. I thought about that all night. Who was Beatrice without Vernon? I'd been with him since I was 22 years old. I'd been a wife longer than I'd been anything else. Who was I now? The next evening, Derek arrived from New York. He walked into the house, dropped his bags, and hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. Ma, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, baby. I talked to Tiffany on the plane. She's flying in tomorrow. We're both staying until this is resolved. Having my children there helped, but it also made everything more real. This wasn't just my marriage ending. This was our family breaking apart. Vernon's flight landed at 8:30 that night. I know because I tracked it online. My son wanted to go to the airport and confront him. I told him no. Let him come home. Let him see what he's lost. At 9:15, I heard a car pull into the driveway. The front door opened. Vernon walked in looking exhausted, defeated, and older than I'd ever seen him. He froze when he saw Derek sitting on the couch. Son. Don't call me son, Derek said, standing up. What did you do to my mother? Derek, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You cheated. You stole. You filed for divorce while on vacation with your mistress. I understand just fine. Vernon looked at me. Really looked at me. And for a second I thought I saw regret in his eyes. But then he straightened his shoulders and said the words that would change everything. Bea, I'm moving out. Tonight. I already have a lawyer. We'll settle this in court. But I want you to know, I'm going to fight for what's mine. And when this is over, you're going to wish you'd just let me go quietly." He turned and walked upstairs to pack. Derek looked at me with fury in his eyes. "Ma, say the word and I'll—" "No," I said quietly. "This is my fight, and I'm going to win it my way." 20 minutes later, Vernon came back downstairs with 2 suitcases. He didn't say goodbye. He just walked out the door and got into his car. I watched through the window as he drove away. 45 years of marriage, leaving in 2 suitcases. Derek put his arm around me. "Ma, where do you think he's going?" "I don't know, baby. And honestly, I don't care anymore." But I should have cared. I should have asked more questions. Because the next morning, I got a phone call that made everything so much worse. It was from Regina. "Mrs. Washington, we have a problem. A big problem. Vernon filed an emergency motion this morning claiming you're hiding assets and preventing him from accessing his rightfully owned property. He's asking the judge to freeze your accounts until a full audit can be done. The hearing is in 3 days. Can he do that?" "He can try. And if the judge believes him, yes. You could lose access to everything until this is settled. B, I need you to understand. Vernon isn't just fighting for money anymore. He's fighting to destroy you." I sat down hard on my couch. Derek grabbed my phone. "This is her son. What exactly is happening?" While Derek talked to Regina, I looked around my house again. My safe space, my home. And I realized something. Vernon wasn't done. This war was just beginning. And somehow, I had to be ready for whatever came next. The emergency hearing was scheduled for Friday morning at 10 o'clock. I spent the 3 days leading up to it gathering every piece of evidence Regina needed. Bank statements dating back 2 years, credit card bills showing Vernon's spending on Simone, the photos Glenn had taken, text messages. Everything. Tiffany arrived Wednesday afternoon. When she walked through my door, I broke down again. Having both my children there made me feel stronger, but it also made me feel the weight of what was happening. This wasn't just my pain anymore. It was theirs, too. "Mama, we're going to get through this," Tiffany said, holding me while I cried. "Daddy made his choice. Now he has to live with the consequences." That night, my phone rang. It was Pastor Williams from Mount Zion. "Sister Beatrice, I heard about what's happening. The whole church is praying for you. And I want you to know, whatever you need, we're here." "Thank you, Pastor," I managed to say through tears. "There's something else," he continued. "Brother Vernon came to see me today. He wanted me to talk to you. He said you're being unreasonable, that you're refusing to communicate with him, and that he just wants to work things out fairly." I felt my jaw clench. "Pastor, did he tell you about Simone?" There was a pause. "He mentioned he'd been seeing someone. He said it started after you 2 grew apart. He said the marriage had been dead for years and you both knew it." "That's a lie." My voice came out harder than I intended. "Pastor, I loved my husband. I was faithful to my husband. I supported my husband through everything. And he repaid me by stealing our retirement money to impress a woman half his age. Then he filed for divorce while on vacation with her. I didn't grow apart from Vernon. Vernon grew apart from his vows, his integrity, and his conscience." "Sister Beatrice, and with all due respect, Pastor, if Vernon wants to tell his side of the story to the church, that's fine. But I have text messages from his mistress threatening me. I have bank records showing he spent over $70,000 on her. I have photos of them together. So before the church judges me for protecting myself, maybe they should ask Vernon why he thought it was okay to destroy our marriage for someone who only wanted him for his money." Pastor Williams was quiet for a moment. Then, "Sister Beatrice, I apologize. I should have gotten the full story before calling. You're right, and for what it's worth, the deacons and I will be at that courthouse on Friday. You're not alone in this." After I hung up, Derek looked at me with something like awe. "Ma, I've never heard you talk like that before." "Neither have I, baby," I said. "But I'm learning." Thursday morning, Loretta organized a prayer circle at my house. 15 women from Mount Zion showed up. We sat in my living room, held hands, and prayed. For strength, for wisdom, for justice. When it was over, Sister Dorothy, the oldest member of our church at 83, pulled me aside. "Baby girl, let me tell you something," she said, gripping my hands with surprising strength. "I've been married 3 times. First husband died in Vietnam. Second husband left me for his secretary. Third husband gave me 20 good years before the Lord called him home. And what I learned is this: a man who doesn't value you doesn't deserve you. You go into that courtroom tomorrow and you remind that judge, that lawyer, and Vernon Washington that you are not to be played with. You hear me?" "Yes, ma'am," I said, feeling something fierce rise up in my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Every lie Vernon had told. Every dollar he'd spent on Simone. Every time he'd made me feel like I was the problem. At 2 a.m, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Washington, this is Simone. I know we got off on the wrong foot, but I need you to understand something. Vernon loves me. He's going to marry me after the divorce. And whether you accept it now or later, it's going to happen. So you can either make this easy and walk away with your dignity, or you can drag this out and look like a bitter old woman who can't let go. Your call. Also, Vernon told me you're trying to take everything from him in court tomorrow. That's really petty. You were married a long time, but you need to understand that people grow apart. It's nobody's fault. Be mature about this." I read that message 3 times. Each time, I got angrier. This woman who'd helped destroy my marriage was calling me petty? This woman who'd been sleeping with my husband was telling me to be mature? I screenshot the message and sent it to Regina with a note. "More evidence for tomorrow." Regina responded immediately. "Perfect. She keeps digging her own grave. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we win." Friday morning, I woke up at 6. I put on my best navy suit, the one I'd worn to Tiffany's law school graduation. I did my makeup carefully. I styled my hair. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman who'd been through hell but wasn't broken. Not even close. Derek and Tiffany drove me to the courthouse. When we pulled into the parking lot, I saw Vernon standing outside with a man in an expensive suit. His lawyer, I assumed. And standing next to Vernon, looking smug and overdressed, was Simone. "She has some nerve showing up here," Tiffany muttered. "Let her," I said. "Let her see what happens when you mess with the wrong woman." As we walked toward the courthouse entrance, I saw them, at least 20 people from Mount Zion Baptist Church, standing on the steps. Pastor Williams, Sister Dorothy, Loretta, the deacons, the choir director. Members I'd known for 30 years. They started clapping when they saw me. Slowly at first, then louder. A few people called out, "We love you, Sister Beatrice. You got this. God is with you." I felt tears streaming down my face, but I kept walking. Vernon looked shocked. Simone looked uncomfortable. Good. Inside the courtroom, Regina was waiting. She looked sharp in a black suit, her briefcase open on the table, documents organized in neat stacks. "You ready?" she asked. "I'm ready." The judge, Honorable Patricia Coleman, a black woman in her 50s, entered at exactly 10 o'clock. Everyone stood. "Be seated," Judge Coleman said, looking over her glasses at the room. "This is an emergency hearing regarding the petition filed by Vernon Washington to freeze assets belonging to Beatrice Washington pending a full financial audit. Mr. Washington's attorney, please present your case." Vernon's lawyer, a slick-looking white man named David Pritchard, stood up. "Your Honor, my client is a 69-year-old retiree who finds himself locked out of his own bank accounts by his wife of 45 years. Mrs. Washington, without warning or discussion, froze all joint accounts, moved retirement funds, and left my client stranded in another state with no access to his own money. This is financial abuse, pure and simple. We're asking the court to freeze Mrs. Washington's accounts until we can determine how much money she's hidden and ensure my client receives his fair share of marital assets. Judge Coleman looked at Regina. Ms. Foster? Regina stood, and I swear the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Your Honor, Mr. Pritchard's characterization of events is creative fiction. Let me present the facts. She pulled out the first document. This is a bank statement showing that over the past 6 months, Vernon Washington spent $73,000 of marital funds on his mistress, Simone Reed, who is sitting in this courtroom today. Regina pointed directly at Simone, who went pale. Objection, Pritchard shouted. Mr. Washington's personal relationships are not relevant to this hearing. They're absolutely relevant, Regina shot back. Because every dollar he spent on Miss Reed came from joint accounts without Mrs. Washington's knowledge or consent. That's the real financial misconduct here. Judge Coleman leaned forward. Continue, Ms. Foster. Regina pulled out more documents. Hotel receipts, restaurant bills, jewelry purchases, all charged to joint credit cards, all for Ms. Reed. Additionally, Mr. Washington booked a 5-night vacation to Miami Beach, presidential suite at the Fontainebleau, costing over $20,000. He went on this vacation with Ms. Reed while telling his wife he was on a business trip. She paused, letting that sink in. Mrs. Washington only froze the accounts after discovering this affair and this spending pattern. She was protecting marital assets from further dissipation. She did exactly what any reasonable person would do in her situation. Your Honor, my client, Pritchard started. I'm not finished, Regina said coldly. She pulled out another document. Furthermore, Mr. Washington filed for divorce 3 weeks ago without informing his wife. He filed while actively planning his vacation with Ms. Reed. He filed while continuing to live in the marital home and pretend everything was fine. And now he has the audacity to claim Mrs. Washington is being unreasonable? Judge Coleman looked at Vernon. Mr. Washington, did you spend marital funds on Ms. Reed? Vernon stood up, looking nervous. Your Honor, my wife and I were having problems. I met someone who made me happy. The money I spent was from accounts I contributed to during my career. That's not what I asked, Judge Coleman interrupted. Did you or did you not spend marital funds on your girlfriend without your wife's knowledge? Vernon hesitated. Yes, but... And did you file for divorce without informing your wife? I was going to tell her... Answer the question, Mr. Washington. Yes, Your Honor. Judge Coleman looked at Pritchard. Counselor, your client locked his wife out of their marriage emotionally and financially for 6 months. He spent tens of thousands of dollars on another woman. He filed for divorce in secret. And now he's shocked that she protected herself? This emergency motion is denied. Mrs. Washington's accounts will remain under her control. Next time, Mr. Pritchard, make sure your client has clean hands before asking for emergency relief. She banged her gavel. We're adjourned. The courtroom erupted. The church members started clapping again. Vernon looked like he'd been punched. Simone was already heading for the door, but Regina grabbed my arm. Don't celebrate yet. This was just round 1. The actual divorce case is going to be much harder. She was right. Over the next 3 months, Vernon's lawyer fought dirty. They subpoenaed every financial record I had. They questioned my spending habits. They even tried to claim I'd been emotionally abusive during our marriage, which would have been funny if it wasn't so insulting. But Regina was ready for everything. Every claim they made, she countered with evidence. Every lie Vernon told, she exposed with documentation. The worst moment came during depositions. I had to sit across from Vernon and answer questions while his lawyer tried to make me look like the villain. At one point, Pritchard asked, Mrs. Washington, isn't it true that you froze the accounts not to protect yourself, but to punish your husband for finding happiness with someone else? I looked him dead in the eye and said, I froze the accounts to protect myself from a man who stole from me. If that punishment, so be it. But I call it justice. Then came the moment that changed everything. Regina had requested Simone's financial records as part of discovery. Simone fought it, but the judge ordered her to comply. When we saw those records, we couldn't believe it. Simone Reed wasn't just broke. She was in massive debt. Over $200,000 in credit card debt, student loans, and unpaid taxes. She'd been evading creditors for years. Vernon didn't just find a girlfriend, Regina said, spreading the documents across her desk. He found a con artist. She targeted him specifically because she knew he had money, and he was too blinded by midlife crisis to see it. We added this evidence to our case. We showed that Simone had a pattern of dating older, wealthy men and then disappearing when the money ran out. Vernon wasn't her first victim. He was just her latest. When Vernon saw this evidence, something in him broke. His lawyer called for a settlement conference. We met in a conference room at the courthouse. Vernon looked 10 years older than he had 6 months ago. Simone wasn't with him. According to Loretta's sources, she'd left Vernon the day after the emergency hearing and was already dating someone else. "B," Vernon started, and his voice cracked. "I was a fool." "Yes, you were," I said simply. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I want to settle this without destroying each other. Please." I looked at Regina. She nodded. "Here's what I want," I said. "I keep the house. I keep my retirement accounts. I keep my car. You can have your retirement accounts, your car, and we split any remaining joint assets 50-50. I get to keep all the furniture, the photos, the family heirlooms. You get to leave with your dignity intact, even though you don't deserve it." "What about spousal support?" Pritchard asked. "No spousal support either way," I said. "We both worked, we both saved, we both leave with what we earned. Clean break." Vernon looked at his lawyer, then back at me. "Okay, I agree." 2 weeks later, we signed the papers. Just like that, 45 years of marriage ended with signatures on a legal document. But here's what Vernon didn't know. While the divorce was being finalized, I'd been busy, really busy. I sold the house, our big, beautiful house that held so many memories. I sold it for $300,000 more than we'd paid for it. According to the settlement, Vernon was entitled to half the profit. I gave it to him. Every penny. Then I did something I'd been dreaming about since I was 25 years old. Something I'd put off because Vernon said it was too risky, too expensive, too impractical. I bought a small house in Charleston, South Carolina, right on the water. 2 bedrooms, a porch with a view of the ocean, and a garden where I could grow whatever I wanted. I also used part of my settlement money to start a nonprofit, the Beatrice Washington Foundation for Women Over 60. We help older women who are going through divorce, providing legal resources, financial counseling, and emotional support. Because I learned that what happened to me happens to thousands of women every year, and most of them don't have the resources or support system that I had. The day I moved to Charleston, Loretta helped me pack the last box. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Free," I said. For the first time in 45 years, I feel completely free. My kids visit all the time. Derek brings his family every summer. Tiffany comes down every other weekend. My grandchildren love the beach house. I also started dating, not seriously, just casually. Coffee dates, dinner dates, movie nights. Turns out, there are a lot of good men out there who know how to treat a woman right. Who would have thought? Last month, I ran into Vernon at a furniture store in Atlanta. I was visiting Tiffany and needed to buy a chair for her guest room. He was there with a woman who wasn't Simone. She looked about 50, sensibly dressed and kind. "B," he said, looking startled. "Vernon," I replied coolly. We stood there awkwardly for a moment. Then he said, "You look good. Happy." "I am happy. Are you?" He glanced at the woman he was with. "I'm getting there. This is Margaret. We met at a church singles group." "Nice to meet you," Margaret said warmly. "Vernon's told me a lot about you." "Has he?" I said, raising an eyebrow at Vernon. He had the grace to look embarrassed. I told her the truth. About everything. About how I messed up the best thing that ever happened to me. I felt something soften inside me. Not forgiveness, exactly, but something close to peace. Well, Vernon, I hope you learned something from it. I know I did. What did you learn? He asked quietly. That I'm stronger than I ever knew. That real love doesn't betray. That family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the church members who show up at the courthouse, the friends who bring you dinner, the children who stand by you no matter what, and that it's never too late to start over. I left him standing there and went to find my chair. On the drive back to Charleston that evening, I thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the anger, the betrayal, the fight, the victory. And you know what? I wouldn't change any of it. Because that pain led me here, to this new life, to this freedom, to this version of myself that I never knew existed. Vernon thought he was leaving me for something better. But all he did was set me free. Last week, I got a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, I saw Simone's name. Mrs. Washington, I know it's been a while. I wanted to apologize for my part in what happened. I was wrong to get involved with a married man. I was wrong to send you those texts. I've been in therapy and I'm working on myself. I hope you can forgive me someday. I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back, Simone, I appreciate your apology. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive you, but I've let go of the anger. It was poisoning me more than it was hurting you. I hope you find whatever you're looking for in life, but find it honestly, without hurting other people. That's all I have to say. She responded, Thank you for that. And for what it's worth, I heard about your foundation. What you're doing is amazing. You're helping people who really need it. Vernon was a fool to let you go. I didn't respond after that. There was nothing left to say. Today is Saturday. I'm sitting on my porch in Charleston, watching the sun set over the water. I'm 68 years old. I'm single. I'm happy. And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Tomorrow, I'm having brunch with 3 women from my foundation. Women who are going through what I went through. Women who need to hear that they're going to survive, that they're going to thrive, that the end of a marriage isn't the end of a life. Sometimes it's just the beginning. Vernon took 45 years from me, but he gave me something too, even though he didn't mean to. He gave me the push I needed to discover who Beatrice Washington really is. And turns out, she's pretty amazing. So if you're out there listening to this, going through something similar, let me tell you, you're stronger than you know. You're worth more than they told you. And your best days aren't behind you. They're just getting started. My phone just buzzed. It's Derek. Ma, we're coming down next weekend. Kids want to go crabbing with Grandma. I smile and text back. Can't wait, baby. I'll make my peach cobbler. This is my life now. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Not even 45 years of marriage to a man who never really saw me. Because now I see myself. And that's all that matters. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.